So I do have slides. Hi, I'm A Ricklin from the American Planning Association, and we are overseeing the Plan for Health project. So who knows about what planning is? Other than our members. So as a person who comes from public health myself, it was a pretty good learning curve to learn about what planning is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and about our organization. So APA is a membership organization of approximately 40,000 planners from across the country. And we have 47 state chapters, and so a couple of those chapters are combined states. And we are an independent, non-for-profit organization, like most professional associations, and really use our members and leverage our membership. We are only as strong as our members. So we promote planning as a tool and as a smart activity for thinking about the future. And what is planning? Planning is thinking about what we want our community and our quality of life to be like over the next several decades. That's the long-term view of planning. Of course, there's interim planning actions that planners engage in, thinking about what is a particular neighborhood going to look like in the next 5 years, what are the types of economic development opportunities we want to attract to our city or our community. But basically planning is looking at the intersection of the actual land, the ground that we are all living on, the built environment, and time. And for a long time, humans were not necessarily part of that picture. It was a lot about the buildings and the cars and how do the roads intersect with the buildings and the cars. And the focus on equitable and healthful maybe went to a lesser degree of focus than the focus on efficient and convenient. But because of our focus on the built environment, we are a natural partner for thinking about public health. All of the features that Laura and Jill just talked about with markets, for example. Well, markets are in places, or they're buildings that are in places. And so planning brings skills to the public health world to think about the placement of those places and all the different factors of how you get things built. I also want to echo what Councilman Cantrell mentioned, where talking about it is where people are. And planning is all of the things that she mentioned. She talked about schools, she talked about clinics, she talked about community spaces. Planning and planners are the people that actually help create and place those features within the environment, within the community. So what do planners do? We make plans. We talked about that. Comprehensive plans or long-term plans for the future, encompassing every component of a community. So thinking about housing, transportation, open space, parkland. We also think about neighborhood and sub-area plans. And then planners also implement those plans. So zoning and development regulations are some of the ways that regular folks might come across planners. Development review and approval, permitting. So sometimes if you have to get a porch, if you want to build a porch on your house, you have to get a permit. Well, that's with the planning department or the zoning department. Also thinking about capital investments. So when there's decisions being made about where to build or rehab, maintain roads, that's often involves planners, or where we want to build or maintain park systems, that involves planners when it comes to capital investments. And then we also, of course, plans are themselves policies. There's also programs, so thinking about financing, that's a kind of program that planners are engaged in. And then, of course, partnerships, because while planners are the folks that influence and create the plans, the specific nitty-gritty of exactly where things will be or where we hope to attract development to be, none of that happens in a vacuum. And so partnership is really key to moving things forward. So to the folks who were in our Plan for Health session earlier, this is a familiar slide that our director of research presented about the home home essential or beginnings of both planning and public health. And these folks are often considered the parents or ancestors of planning and public health. Frederick Law Olmsted is known for all of the wonderful parks that he and his son designed across the country, and Jane Addams is known for her social work and advancement of equity and thinking about those who have the least among us. And that was really the genesis of planning and public health together, thinking about how to address those issues together. And then, of course, over the course of the 20th century, they've became more specialized and separated. And now, with programs and projects like Plan for Health, we're looking to bring those two fields back together and thinking about how to bring the human back into planning and bringing planning into public health as a really good holistic intervention. So Plan for Health is managed through our Planning Community Health Center at APA. We have a number of centers, and they look at green communities and hazards planning. And then our Planning Community Health Center focuses on exactly this topic, bringing together planning and public health. And the opportunity to work with CDC and all of the other national organizations through Plan for Health has been a really wonderful way to build our center and build our influence across our membership. So we have a shared vision of promoting health equity and reducing disparities, and then truly to fully integrate planning and public health where people live, work, learn, and play. We're also working with the American Public Health Association as a key partner because, as I mentioned earlier, we're really leveraging our members as much as we can, and we're also thus leveraging the members of the American Public Health Association to pair together at the local level and work with one another and embrace and actually live out that vision that we have of integrating planning and public health. And APHA is also helping support us with evaluation. The national orgs, the parent organizations, Category A's, are responsible for evaluation of our grantees across the country. So we're partnering with public health expertise on doing that evaluation. Our two focus areas are nutrition and physical activity. We chose to focus on these to kind of keep it simple and be in the areas that are the most directly influenced by planning. Planners can certainly maybe influence signage around not smoking, but it's not as much success perhaps as they could have in promoting physical activity through bike lanes and pedestrian facilities, or nutrition through providing for markets or increasing access to markets through transportation, for example. And here's where our grantees are. The red dots represent cohort 1 and the blue dots represent cohort 2. So folks in this room are represented by the blue dots. We really filled out the map this year with our second cohort of having more representation across the country and in different states. So currently we have grantees, 35 grantees total, working in 27 different states. So there's a few states that have a couple of projects going on, which is really exciting. But it's fun to see that we're working in more than half the country. So these are the actual names of the coalitions that we are funding through Plan for Health for Cohort 2 and the states that they represent and the topic areas that they're working on. So some of the, actually, I meant to mention, one example of physical activity and approach that one of our grantees is working on in Indianapolis from Cohort 1 was developing a pedestrian master plan. That plan went to council this past week. We have a representative from Indianapolis who's going to share her story tomorrow, and so you can hear many more details about that. But it's actually going to affect and impact the entire city of nearly 900,000 people across that whole city. So that's an example of a big success between planning and health. And then we also have another success in our Kenton County Coalition in Kentucky, who is working with corner store owners and getting healthy foods into corner stores, which also has a side effect of potentially being an economic development driver for those corner stores in an area where there's not that many opportunities or places to buy healthy food. And then I want to conclude with our Peer Learning Network, which is a way for us to connect the two cohorts across the 2 years of the project, as well as share lessons learned and also connect with our wider members. Again, our goal is to have this project connect across the membership of the two, of APA and APHA, and bring the skills and techniques and strategies that our coalitions are working on to members in all of the states, in all of the nooks and crannies of our organization, people working at all levels, so state government as well as local government, and working with all different kinds of multi-sectoral partners. So I really encourage folks to look at our website and look at some of our videos. We have some wonderful videos and testimonials and other resources for you to see. It's planforhealth.us. So you can see, looking at the Peer Learning Network and see some of our mini webinars as well as podcasts. And there's my contact information, and I look forward to talking to all of you. You can look for the I Heart Health sticker on the folks' badges so